Welcome back, everyone, to the presentation on the basics of 奇门遁甲 Part 2. Just now we have talked on the basics on H1, Jia, and the three specials, right? Heavenly stems, Yi, Bing, Ding. Now, as we know, total there are 10 heavenly stems. What happens to the rest of the 6? They were named Liu Yi during that time when they were developed. So they are namely Wu, Ji, Gen, Xing, Ren, Gui. Okay, some of you may ask, isn't it Gen and Xing the metal elements? Yes, but you don't forget, we can disguise as the enemy. They are the spies, right? We can think it that way. Okay, so what is their duty? Basically, a quick one. They are used to represent the total of 6 Jia commanders, right? We know that in the 60 Jiazi combinations, there are only 6 combinations of Jia, right? Namely, there are Jiazi, Jiaxu, Jiasheng, Jiawu, Jiacheng, Jiayi. So these 6 heavenly stems, Liu Yi, was substituted into each of the combination, which represents these 6 combinations. Okay, so the next question is, what does it mean? How do we use it in the 奇门遁甲 chart, especially the hourly chart, which is the most popular one, right? Explained in the, as mentioned in the first video. So for example, I have erected a chart using the hourly chart. I want to forecast or predict an event at the hour of Jiawu, right? Hour of horse. But as I mentioned, you can't see Jia and the 12 earthly branches, 12地支, on the chart itself. But doesn't mean they are not existing. Okay, so how do we use? We use the representation. In this case, we will use Xing here, Xing, to represent Jiawu. Okay, it is similar to you are sending some representative of your leader. Okay, in this case, if you want to predict anything on Jiawu, okay, especially on the time, we look at Xing instead of Jiawu, which you can't find in the chart. Later, we'll come to a sample chart. Okay. Now, for beginners, okay, this is just a introduction to you. Don't worry about the numbers and the names used in the terms here. Okay. As you can see, it is divided into 8 squares outside and the center square, total of 9 squares. Okay, basically, as I mentioned in the first video, this system developed from the Pakwa, okay, or the later trigrams, and also the introduce of Luoshu into the system. Okay, the stars are very similar to the flying star theories, but by nature, okay, but because the formula is different, so you cannot fly the stars like what you have learned in the flying stars theory. Okay, this is just to show you how the doors and the stars are distributed in the 奇门遁甲 chart. Okay, the original location and position. Okay, as for the details, we are not discussing here. Okay, let's say 奇门遁甲 is a dish need to be cooked, right? So we need some basic ingredients at least to complete the dish. Of course, it is like a porridge, right? We can add additional things or items that you want in the porridge. But basically, what you need for the basics to cook a bowl of porridge. The first one is very important. It is called the 8 deities or spiritual supports. As you know, ancient Chinese believe in spiritual supports, secret power. Okay, its influence is believed to be very huge, like 40%. Okay, but I have to highlight that this 40% is just indicative of the influences. Okay, because there's a Chinese terms in 奇门遁甲 studies called 急从神缓从门. That means if you want an urgent answer, you look at this deity supports, okay, which constitutes about 40% of the influence of the event you want to forecast. So namely they are 直符、腾蛇、太阴、六合、白虎、玄武、九地、九天. So in general, the first one 直符 and the fourth one 六合 and the last one 九天 are mostly auspicious stars. Sorry, auspicious supports. Okay, but of course depends on the questions that you ask, right? If you ask about sickness, then 九天, for example, is not very good already because it means the sickness is very serious. So it depends on your question. But if you ask about your wealth, then 九天 is very good, right? So there is no absolute answer. All depends on your question asked. The second one is about 20% influence, right? As I mentioned, the percentage is just a guideline. Okay, it means your 天时, heaven luck, so called. Okay, the 9 stars are in nature very similar to what is the flying star theory that you have learned, for those who have learned. Okay, but the names are different, that's all. The first star, star number 1, is 天蓬星. Star number 8 is 天刃星. Star number 3, 天冲, 天府, 天晴, 天阴, 天瑞, 天柱, and 天星. Okay, roughly like star number 4, you know, is similar to your flying star, is related to academic or a Chinese, a traditional Chinese medicine, something like this. Okay, and star number 2 is like your sickness star. So it's very similar to your flying star theory. Okay, so the third one, which already mentioned, the 8 doors, actually represents something like your human luck. Also constitutes about 20% of the influence of the whole chart reading. Okay, basically it's the same. 修身伤度景始经开. Okay, so basic theory says that 修门, the first 修门, second 生门, and the last 开门 is deemed to be auspicious doors. Okay, but as I mentioned, it all depends on your question. For example, the last one, 开门, okay, is auspicious for open your shop or auspicious to ask on your career. But if you ask on your sickness, right, it means operation. But if this operation is good for you or bad for you, so there are many details to follow up. So don't just rush into conclusions, okay? You must learn first before you know how to fly, right? You must learn how to walk before you know how to fly. But we are not going to discuss in this presentation, okay? Because it's free. Okay, the next 10% it acts as a catalyst, okay, 催化剂, okay, which is the earth luck. Okay, it is the combinations of the 10 heavenly stems. Now, those who learn 八字, okay, will know that it is a combination of the top shows the heavenly stem and the bottom the earthly plunges. 上为天干，下为地支，对不对？ But in 奇门遁甲, you can only see the combinations of both heavenly stems. This is the interesting part. Okay, and of course, as I mentioned, the ingredients also consist of your later trigrams, the 八卦后天八卦, and also the 洛书 applications. Okay, then the basic ingredients are ready to cook the dish. Okay, But the last one, most importantly, okay, is your heart, because it's a divination methods. You need to connect your heart, peaceful mind, to the heaven, which the Chinese believe, to get the accurate answer and get the intuition right. Okay, this is very important, because all these items here shown here can be a lot of meanings in Chinese studies. Okay, it can mean a lot of thinking. So if you just understand on the surface, you cannot do the correct or good prediction. Okay. uh, Now for those smart people, you will add up all the percentage. You will find that the total percentage here is only 90%. So where does this 10% go? So this 10% is about 易经. Okay. So anyway, it's just a 10% constitution. So no problem. Okay. When you learn the details, then you'll know. Okay, now this slide, don't be alarmed by this chart here. It's all written in Chinese, right? So people hate Chinese character, even the Chinese themselves, right? But don't have to worry. You just think that this is just your bakwa trigrams. Okay. Basically, the bottom here, center bottom here, traditionally it represents the north sector, and thus the left bottom here, that you see number 8 here, is your northeast, and here will be east, southeast, south, and you go clockwise, southwest, go clockwise, west, and northwest, and come back to north. Just go clockwise from the north. Okay, it represents the 8 directions, the bakwa. This this chart was used as a battlefield formation to determine when is the best time to deploy your armies to attack the right direction at the right time, or to retreat your army at the right direction at the right time from the enemy's attack, vice versa. Okay, so this is very interesting chart to use for military training or even in real war. So this is how it looks like. As I mentioned, you can't even see the existence of the 12 earthly branches, 12地支看不到, right? And also the 甲, you can't find any 甲 character in this chart, right? You can see, right? For example, at this east sector, number 3 here, okay, at your left hand corner, left hand side here, center, okay, the top is Xing, bottom is Ji. It's only the combination of heavenly stems. How do we read this? Okay, for example, I use number 3 as the example. You don't have to worry on the Chinese characters here, because I'm not going to teach you. Okay, but I just tell you the first star that we talked about just now, right? Star number 1 is called 天蓬星, right? In Chinese, ancient Chinese, is called 天蓬星, which is star number 1. If you can't remember the Chinese character, you just remember it's star number 1 means those who learn flying star before. Star number 1 means water element, right? So what is water element? It's like this figure here. This is a classic figure, okay, imagined by the classic novel, famous classic novel Journey to the West. Okay, this guy called 天蓬元帅, which is the brother of the Monkey King. Okay, 猪八戒 is the name. Okay, water represent what? Wise, right? Smart, capable, but also big size. Okay, and strong sexual desires, robbery, greedy, or womanizer for a man, right? So this is the nature, but it doesn't mean it is always like this. You must see this star falls in which sector and what combination it has. But by nature, water is like that. Has to do something with greed, intelligence, and sex. Okay. The rest of it, you don't worry, because it's not stated here. Okay. Now, roughly, what is the catalyst doing? You have in your mind, right? Why there is the combination of two heavenly stems? For example, okay, total, as we know, because H1 is not around, there are total 81 combinations here, and each of them represented by the Chinese characters, which is very difficult to convert to English, okay, because the meaning may be twisted by translating it if it's not careful, right? I just take one example on how interesting is this, okay? For example, your upper heavenly stem is H3 being, and your lower heavenly stem is Hy, and we just cross check. It is called 飞鸟蝶穴 in Chinese. What do you mean? This is very interesting. Okay, this is an auspicious combination. It means literally bird dropping into a nest. Okay, H3 is fire element, right, at the upper stem, and the lower stem is H5, right? But in 奇门遁甲, not forgetting that 甲木 is hidden under H5, right? So it represents wood also. And we know wood feeds by cycle of birth. Wood feeds fire. So H1 is like the mother of H3. Therefore, by this logic, H3 is like the child falling into the mother's arm. So it's like a beautiful bird returning to its nest. Even also fall back to the nest. So it's very auspicious, right? So in Chinese, because they like to use animals or situation, they don't tell you directly what it is. Okay, that they like to use descriptions, animals, poets, okay, to confuse you. But it's actually telling you is the concept. So this combination is good for organizing big events or marriage. So can you see how nice is 奇门遁甲? Okay, but this is only one of the example. Inauspicious combination also, right? So in Chinese, 奇门遁甲, there are one saying, there is a saying, 奇门遁甲之术为先天之玄，后天之秘，处世之道，帝王之学. Okay, it reveals the secrets of the diagrams and heavenly secrets. Okay, it is the way to learn, okay, to how to behave, and this is the emperor's recognized art in ancient China. Okay, because during that time only the top management and the emperor himself and the first commanders must learn this technique. Okay, because anyone else who learn is very dangerous. Okay, it will threaten the emperor's sovereignty over China. Okay, so this art was considered a secret. We are very lucky now we have people to release these secrets. Okay, so that's end my presentation here. I hope it is fruitful to you and meaningful to you, and have some knowledge on this good ancient Chinese art, 奇门遁甲. Thank you very much.